I'm in love with the world through the eyes of a girl who's still around the morning after. We broke up a month ago, and I grew up. I didn't know we'd be around the morning after.
And welcome to a very mellow, laid-back version of episode of Ballhawk Blab, the first and only video baseball podcast brought to you by Ballhawks, for Ballhawks, inspired by Hall & Oates.
Woohoo!
Tony, what do we have this week?
Well, this podcast of non-imitation is going to talk about some, World Baseball Classic, WBC, and as David would probably call this, World Baseball Coca-Cola Classic, since that's the Atlanta version.
Not the new Coke.
And then we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to end it with a shout out to the BallhawkFest, which is going to be happening here for 2017, and then maybe some sneak peek at 2018.
Ooh, a sneak peek.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tony, I don't know how much of the World Baseball Classic you've been able to watch, but I've found myself steadily getting more and more involved in it, starting last week with the games going on over in Asia. I think Team Israel's really sparked a lot of interest with how well they've been doing, and then the great games have been being played in. Oh, we may have a visitor.
World Baseball Classic. Mark, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you faintly.
Excellent.
So, yes.
Hold on, I got interference. Let me shut something off. Nice hat.
So you were saying that you've been able to watch some baseball.
I have, and starting off it's always great to start your morning off with baseball at 6 o'clock in the morning. Overseas in Asia, it's always great to start the day that way. So it kind of got me going into it. I really wasn't pumped about it at first, but the more and more I've watched and then seeing things, how a lot of the games in Miami have been going, it's really got my attention. And I think Tony and I talked about just the passion that's been shown with all the teams, especially the Dominican team, the Colombian team, and the camaraderie with Team Israel as well.
Yep. So some of that passion, we were kind of talking about this before we got Mark on here, but I think that he can speak to it a little bit better. A lot of that passion in our eyes was, especially since a lot of those teams are either in the Caribbean or South American, even Team Mexico and stuff. It's kind of that Latino passion if you're kind of ascribing to some of those generalizations. So, Mark, is that kind of true, and that's kind of what you're seeing with the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, being in Marlins Park for a regular game is, for lack of a better word, dull. If you're just a normal once-a-year baseball fan. But if you just went once to a WBC game, you go. It's a different experience. It's louder. You feel the vibrations. The game goes by quicker because of the action, and because of people. There's things going on. I mean, this guy with an annoying horn over here. There's this beautiful girl in a sort of country type of outfit, or there's just people going nuts with flags everywhere. Let me give you a little ratio here. For every 25 Dominican flags I saw one American flag. For every about 10 Colombian flags was one American flag. And for every American flag, I want to say -3 Canadian flags. that were here. I mean, even the Team Canada coach called out the Canadian pro players, saying, "Hey, nobody signed up, and what happened. What happened? I mean, it was a dog game to watch if you're a Canadian. But when the Dominicans were just beating up on them, I'm like, hey, that's expected. I mean,
I think when you had Ryan Dempster starting as a starting pitcher in your game one, and I think there was even talk of Freddie Freeman having to play third base at one point because they were so low in the players that could get committed. That's a bit of a problem, I think. But I think the first instance I saw the Dominican passion was back with Pedro Martinez when he started pitching with the Red Sox, and in Boston you just see Dominican flags all over the place whenever he's pitching.
Yeah, those. See, I'm not Dominican, but my cousin-in-law, he was with us. And he's Dominican, hardcore Dominican, born over there. I mean, he had a freaking plátano in his pocket. Um, it's it's wild, man. It's wild. It's like you're just born into some sort of group of fanaticism, and they just love it. And that's, when you're watching Miami games and you don't have that passion with the product on the field, it's a big difference. And it was welcoming. I mean, to see that place rocking, that's what it looked like. It's like a World Series game was there, and there was some sort of late innings tiebreaker type of situation. That's the vibe that was going on there.
Could you have asked for a better place than Miami? I mean, you have a lot of those people that are now living in Miami that come from Dominican backgrounds. You have just a really good place for those teams. And was it kind of the perfect storm where, like you said, everyone showed up?
Well, I know last night I went to the first two games. Last night I wanted Team Colombia to pull that upset because I wanted to go to a game tonight. So I'm cheering. Now I know the owners of Marlins Park and the people who benefit from this, they wanted another game because that was the biggest crowd that there was, USA versus Dominican Republic, to that park. And that means concessions, that means ticket sales, parking, what have you. So I know they wanted another game. That one thing I would say is kind of knowing who's going to be in the final rounds. If Miami had the final round, that would have been a little bit better because, you got the Venezuelan crowd that's there, you got the Puerto Rican crowd that's there, and not to just say that, predictable, but those are the teams that are stacked. That's who you would see there. If the last round was there, it would be rocking, but I'm satisfied, and I only went to 2 games.
I think what I also see is if Major League Baseball does want to be international and start looking at different countries, I mean, you look at the fan bases that they even have in a place like Miami. I could only imagine what a team in the Dominican would have for their attendance, for their TV market out there. It would be insane. And do you think that they could support that in kind of, I know it's a smaller territory, but do you think that with their passion they could support it?
Well, let me just tell you about something we were talking about. If you change around some of the Marlins players and brought in all Dominicans and mixed up some Venezuelans, I mean, that place would be rocking. That would be the formula. You have it there already. That's your test market. And then you could see expand into different places. Miami would be the test market if we got rid of this art dealer con artist and you put in people who care about baseball, mostly a Latino minded, because that's the market. I mean, by putting it in Miami, you lost the American backed market. Okay, when it used to be Florida Marlins, you get people from the 3 counties coming down. They felt a little bit better about it. It was in the northern part of the city. There wasn't that attention. Now people say, no, I'm not going to go down. Okay, fine. You lost one market. Put it heavy into a different market. People who actually, which is proven, care about it. I mean, instead of trying to...
Yeah, Tony, and I don't know what it's like in Minnesota, but I know here in Atlanta that there is a core group of baseball fans, but for the most part, most people that are going to the games are there more for the social aspect, to hang out, look at girls, look at guys, drink beer, get drunk,
spend money.
Yeah. I don't know how much that is like that in Minnesota, but that's what I find is what, I don't want to say most, but a good number of people down here in Atlanta, they're going to cheer on the teams. Yes, I do want the Braves to win here, but no, they'd rather go have the experience with their friends, and no, if their team wins or loses, no, that's almost secondary. To whereas a lot of these fans in the World Baseball Classic, they're going for the sole purpose of, supporting their country, supporting their team.
So the other thing that we talked about, that we wanted to cover is the 11th inning rule that came into play. I think it's going to be unanimous here, but we'll start with our guest. How do you feel about these automatic base runners to start off the inning?
The home team loses the advantage from my standpoint, and that kind of ruins it for me. I thought it was, something of a novelty to see in action, and if it was successful, then it's more fuel for this Manfred guy to make more changes. Which, don't change it. The biggest change I see that they need, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, is to reduce the amount of advertising and to kill this blackout. That's the biggest thing, because I had to watch all my games bootleg style. Okay, so they didn't get money from me. That's a problem. That's a problem. Not anything quicker with the game. They're looking in the wrong direction, and when they look there, they see the reflection of themselves with money in their pockets. You can't deal with anything at that point. I mean, I can't blame them, but at the same point, leave it alone.
Yep.
Leave it alone.
Especially because, and we've discussed it here on the show, it seems like whenever they do put in a rule that could cut down on the amount of playing time, they're finding these really obscure things or things that just don't matter as much. There could be a lot better ways that they could find ways to speed up the game, like the pitch clock. It's not totally great, but at the same time, compared to, shaving off a few seconds based on a intentional walk, or on the rare occasion that it goes to extra innings, giving them base runners. It's extra innings is special. You get bonus baseball. It doesn't happen all the time, but let's let it play out under regular circumstances. Don't change the game once it gets to the interesting part where it's special, and at the end of each inning could be the end of the game. David?
Right. And I was kind of excited to see the novelty of it. Starting the inning with runners on first and second. But once the batter got in the batter's box, everyone in the stadium knew that there was going to be a sacrifice bunt. And I think in both games that had it, they bunted the runners from first to second, or from first and second to second and third. And I think the game the other night, it just opened up a floodgate, and Columbia really never could bounce back after giving up, I think it was 7 runs in one inning. Kind of screwed them over. That now they're not going to bunt because they need just to get runners in, and they can't afford to give up that out. So, and then I think I saw someone on Twitter. Someone was talking about you're starting an inning with a pitcher already in a jam. Maybe put a runner on first if you want to try something like that. In that situation, I'm completely fine with it in the World Baseball Classic. But again, I'll be interested to see how it works out in the Gulf Coast League and the Arizona League. But for the most part, I'd like to just see it stay out of baseball as much as possible.
And the other cool thing is, I hear that someone that Mark, ended up with a game home run.
Yeah, you guys know him. I mean, I think David's met him.
Yep.
Yeah, he ended up with it off the staircase. Buster Posey, I would have never thought. You always speculate, and you're like, who's going to be the guy? Like, that was kind of off, but who's going to be your first?
Yep.
And you never thought, like Buster Posey or like that. He was trying to play Arenado, and you got Buster Posey. So I guess that's a good one.
Nice. And how has it been for you?
As far as what?
Just as far as getting the experience and.
As far as from a ball hockey standpoint, I was kind of angry that I didn't get a WBC ball, but they didn't use them during batting practice, but I didn't get shut out, and I had a good time. So, just on to opening day is the next phase of things here.
Nice.
One other thing I wanted to talk about, and Tony, I didn't talk to you about this earlier, kind of slipped my mind, but I saw one proposal that talked about how the All-Star game's kind of been dying off as of late, is maybe kind of mimicking what hockey does in kind of having a mid-season break where they might be able to have the World Baseball Classic or be able to have players from the majors part of the Olympics. I know that would happen every 2 years, but no, I think the proposal talked about including the World Baseball Classic and maybe like a 2-week break and then throwing the Future Star game as well as the Home Run Derby all into this 2-week span, which I thought was a pretty good idea of just trying to get more interest in, both. I don't know, you kind of do away with the All-Star game, but kind of opening up that 2 weeks in July to just create more excitement around the game in itself and everything that's going on. I thought maybe you could centralize it around 4 cities that could host these opening round games, and then just kind of do a best 2 out of 3 from there on out. But I guess the question comes in: what are you going to do in those off years that you don't have the World Series, I mean, you don't have the Olympics, or you don't have the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean,
so the other
competition would be something you can add in there every year that the WBC is not within that group, but that would be something interesting. I never heard of that, and I'd be up for that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have problems with that, really.
So mark it down, our commissioner.
Yep.
The ideas are flowing here from your friends out at the Blab.
It's called feedback.
You're not going to get this kind of commentary on that other show.
Yeah, we get semi-political here, even if it is baseball politics. Well, we're not afraid. That's why we're not imitators here. The other thing that we're going to talk about is BallhawkFest. So congrats to Canada as an entire country, because you guys are going to be the host of it in 2017. So Toronto, you're on the clock. I've seen some good things. I wish I could make it out there, but it's just I have too many big road trip ideas to begin with. So are either of you two speculating going?
In August, it's pretty hard for me to be able to get anywhere out since I got to go back to work in August. So I am out of BallhawkFest this year. Maybe if it's in the midst of the summer, it's easier for me to go then. But I won't be going. But they're commercial, and I think they even got a logo that's different. And it's even got Todd Random, who's a graphic designer who designs a lot of logos for leagues and teams. He thought it was a pretty good logo as well.
Yeah, shout out to Boog. So he put his proposal out there. He didn't win, but then he helps out the Toronto guys by designing that for them. So just shows how classy Boog is. So congrats to everyone. How about you, Mark?
No, I'm booked up for the year, but the logo, I like that logo, and if they can get that on a ball, now that's something.
Yeah.
That would motivate me then. I mean, that would motivate a lot of us.
I agree.
I'm a passport man, so I can't go up there. So I'm not doing nothing like that.
So how many games do you have planned this year?
I have 2 trips, and then I will be hunting down Pujo, so I'm saving wherever he goes. That's an emergency fund now, So wherever he goes, however that 9 home runs comes, I'll be in the stadium for that 9.
Okay.
Hopefully near the ball.
Nice.
So that's how it is.
The thing that I was going to add to it, and I think both of you already know because you have seen it on Twitter, is in 2018, I'm going to go rogue. We're going to have a BallhawkFest in Minneapolis no matter the circumstances. And I think that I would really encourage all the other miniature communities within ball hawking to try this idea. And I know last episode we discussed kind of having a ball hawk day where we celebrate ball hawks, and if we can do something like this around the nation, it'd be pretty cool. But I know that there's a lot of cities that feel snubbed by not having BallhawkFest, and that's not Alan's fault. That's not really anyone's fault, because the way that it's set up, he wants to make sure that it runs the smoothest and represents my game balls the best. But I know that the likelihood that Minneapolis gets a full bid is very, very low. So I'm just going to go with it. We're going to have one here in Minneapolis. You two are invited. You can even stay in my place. But would you guys think of doing that in 2018 as well, having one in Miami and Atlanta?
I think it'd be easy to have one in Atlanta, especially from the standpoint of there will be tons of people coming here this year to try to get the SunTrust Park baseballs and to see the new stadium. So I think it'd be easily put together. I think we almost had a mini one breakout unplanned earlier this year. I think Eric Jabs and Dennis and Rick Gold and myself were all at attendance at a Marlins game later in the season. So we almost had an impromptu BallhawkFest breakout right there. I think we had 5 of the top 10 ball hawks in the country all in the same stadium at one time.
It's a lot of balls.
It was.
How about you, Mark? You going to organize one in Miami? Go Rogue?
Look, this is not a proposal. I'm just saying, by the way. But if we wanted to, there is a field where you can hit for our personal home run derby. Plenty of food all over the place. Great gate time. And, free parking for adults. You know how that is, because there's some under 18 ball hawks and they don't think of these kinds of things. And, so, I mean, I can do it whenever I want, if I wanted to, like that type of thing. But, I mean, we're kind of sectioned off here in the Southeast. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, and then the next thing would be to go to Atlanta. It would be just easier to go to Atlanta. Like the Southeast would just be represented Atlanta. I had no problem making a trip. I mean, I was going to go out there for opening day, but then I saw the prices and I got scared. I'm not going near that place until September.
Right. So, yeah, Tony, should we start a competing website called Our Game Balls, maybe?
Ooh. Or should we just sponsor one? Just the Blab Fest or something?
That could be it.
Yeah. And I would say that maybe since we have a good friend and a good group down in Miami, and I've never been and I kind of want to go, how about we take our show on the road, do it live down there, and join the fantastic duo that we know of in Mark and Dennis.
That could be something in the works.
I mean, there's a National League and there's an American League. I mean, there's room for 2 organizations in one big. I mean, we mimic what they do, so we're still mimicking it.
Yeah.
The theory.
And maybe we could, since right now my game balls is all in English, maybe we try to corner the market by having it more in Spanish, and especially having it in Miami, we could have more of that flair down there. So, maybe
we could have air horns and vuvuzelas going the whole time.
Hey, man, if they let us bring that in now.
I think after they've seen the success and the excitement that it brings with the World Baseball Classic, there's no need for them not to let them in.
Well, I mean, you can't bring a selfie stick in during the year, but with WBC, there were selfie sticks everywhere. So, I mean,
Yeah, maybe that's just because selfie sticks in general have a bad reputation.
Yeah, so do I, but they still let me in.
Well, I think that kind of sums up everything that we were thinking. So is there anything that we left off talking about, you guys?
I think that covers it.
Sweet. Well, thank you to our last minute guest. He was very, very gracious for giving us his time and coming and talking about something that he probably knows even well better than us because he's been there. So thank you, Mark. World Baseball Classic. Check it out. And who's your pick to win it?
What's that?
Who is your pick to win?
Dominican, man. The Dominican.
You can't root against him.
The lineup, I mean, the pitching's a little thin, but I think the lineup will push them through. It's that Blue Jays mentality.
Yep. How about you, David?
I almost think that the Dominicans gone to the well one too many times here. So I might have to go to Puerto Rico. They seem to have a pretty stout team.
Okay. I'm going to go with. I'm just going to say not the USA. That's the easy bet. So we're just going to say not USA.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I appreciate you guys having me on to talk about Miami and everything. And anytime you need me, just give me a holler.
Will do. Thank you very much.
All right. Take it easy, David. See you.
All right. See you, Mark.
With that, we will play you out with some Hall & Oates. Hall & Oates loves you. David and Tony loves you. Stay classy. World Baseball Classic. Stroke your monkey. Be the pumpkin.